teaches me listen, and boy does she sing. Her voice swings like a hummingbird, flies like a shooting. Welcome to the Girl Awakening podcast. I'm Jo Hendy from the Sacred Sister Project.
I'm Amanda Parker from Mayella Organics.
Together each week we will share a vulnerable, open and honest podcast about the awakening process in all of its sacredness. Oh, it started already. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, Jo.
Oh, it's so nice to be back in the chair again with another very special guest.
Very special guest. A most special day, as are all our Girl Awakening days. But this one's a little bit, or is most closer
to home, yeah.
Closer to home, yeah. Closer to home, very close to home. Been a big chunk of my life, journeying with this person. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's what we love about this process, is the feeling side.
Heart, yeah, so today we are sharing space with Tanya Goldie. I think there's a lot of people that know of Tanya Goldie. She's been instrumental in a lot of people's lives at a lot of different levels. And for those of you who don't know Tanya Goldie listeners, Tanya is a iridologist, a practicing iridologist, herbalist, naturopath, homeopath, educator and a psychology graduate. And it's a very broad area that Tanya works in for over 30 years now. Primary care of pregnant mothers, newborn toddlers and children, vaccination, injury and prevention, male and female infertility, gut issues, allergies and immune support, hormone imbalances and menopause, stress-related symptoms including anxiety, burnout and insomnia, treatment of cancer and chronic disease, and very special one, care, mentoring and guidance for children and people across the spectrum, ADD, ASD and so on.
Wow.
So
they're
very
all
broad.
they're all quite, just hearing you read them out just then, it's like they're all quite deep, they're all very close to the heart.
Life journey care.
There's a lot of care is needed in that alone. Really beautiful.
Yeah, so welcome, Tanya, to Girl Awakening.
Thank you for having me, girls.
Oh,
you're so welcome.
Joy.
Yeah,
I think we go back
our
at least,
honour.
It's our honour. Yeah, at least I think we go back at least 25 years.
I think so.
Yeah, which covers a big chunk of life and living and growing young families. Tanya has 2 beautiful children, and we've been able to share many clients over the years and occasionally work and practice together, which has been very special times. And raised our families together.
Yeah, we've grown up.
Yeah, we've grown up.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, you've also had.
Yes, I
experience
have.
with Jo.
I have.
Tanya.
In times of need, we won't go there. But Tanya's been a support for me too.
Yeah.
A very lovely, caring lady.
Thank you.
Yeah, very special. So thank you for coming on to the Girl Awakening podcast. You're in the hot seat. You're in the red hot seat.
But she's very calmly embracing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As is Tanya's,
It's beautiful.
strength.
Yeah.
Embracing life. So, let's go. How did your awakening begin, Tanya?
Look, I think my awakening began when I was a little girl. So I just was going about my business thinking that everybody just knew about the light and healing, and so I just thought that everyone knew that you could tap into this white light that was universal, bring it through your crown chakra, out your hands to help everybody. And I actually did not realise that just wasn't the norm.
Wow.
Until I was maybe 16, 17, till my last year of school. I thought, doesn't it? And so my awakening was a little bit different.
Yes.
My awakenings have been a little bit I think I was kind of just under the impression that everyone thought the same as me, and sort of was the same as me.
Yeah.
I didn't realise until I was quite old that actually it's not the case at all. I do not fit into many of those little boxes that society has. So, but my awakening into life of spirit and purpose and healing has always been there.
That's quite an open heart right from the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be in that space and actually automatically have everybody there without questioning people.
I was thinking the other day, like, it was quite odd. My father died when I was a little girl, and people would come to the house to, you know, fix things, and they would say, "Oh, could you just, you know, help my back here and things?" And I was 8.
Wow.
And I'll just pop my hands on their back or their, and I just thought that was normal. And
So
we
beautiful.
lived in the bush, like where there was, you know, in regional places, like not I didn't know what a naturopath was. I didn't even know what mushrooms were till I was about 22.
Yeah, yeah. So you had like a natural Reiki ability.
I did.
Happening, So was your mum aware of that? Because obviously if that was happening and people were coming in, like, she must have known something was happening.
My mum's a little bit different too. I think.
Yeah,
But she not in the same way at all. I think she was 28 when my dad died, and so she just had a massive, like, it was her Saturn return, and it was just, I don't think she sort of saw me a lot.
Yes.
To be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but she just gave me a great freedom of thought, perspective. Like, I just had such a lot of freedom as a child.
Yeah.
In my thought and my beliefs and in my life, and I credit her for that. I mean, it probably came about a little bit because she was lost her life partner so young, but and had to, you know, had a little bit of a rude awakening.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was just left, but she was there, and she was always there to listen. But I didn't realise it was odd, so I just thought I didn't have reason to speak to her about it.
This is really beautiful, because I know there are so many parents in this day and age that are torn between that, like giving their children full freedom. And when we say full freedom, we mean allowing our kids to experience and come into their own, whatever that is, naturally, without being shaped or formed, or being the parent that feels like they have to step in.
Yes.
And there's a lot of parents that feel like they have to step in because they're too afraid that the other way the kid's going to go crazy, or, you know, it's going to have too much freedom.
How will they know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe they will feel embarrassed. Or
absolutely, yeah. So this is really beautiful because it's allowed you.
It was just a lovely space for me. So it really suited me as an individual to grow up with the freedom of thought.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have one younger sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's a lovely lady. So she was a bit younger when my father died, and so she's had her life. You could not get two more different people, really.
Yeah.
So she works for the government, and she has a husband and children and a white picket fence.
Yep.
Like, she has really embraced,
created
foundation and the life she wanted as well.
Yep,
So
and absolutely. And you know, that's nothing wrong with that if that's
it was wonderful
what they choose. Yeah, absolutely.
So she's had the same. So having that freedom of thought has given us both lots of
that's really interesting.
Room to move.
Yeah. That's so amazing. So what things were you aware of when you were like 8 that you know that was to you very normal, but to others it would have been strange? What was happening for you? Like, was it the Reiki, the energy kind of healing thing that you were doing? Was there other things? Were you seeing things?
No, not really seeing. I still don't.
Yeah.
I still can't see. I still don't see. So if I was doing a chakra meditation, I don't see any colour.
Yes. Yeah.
At all.
Yes.
So I suppose it's just been a knowing, really, more than anything, and my intuition is
incredibly strong.
Incredibly strong.
How wonderful that is.
And I've always been aware of, so sometimes, like when I'm practicing, some things will come out of my mouth, and I think, oh God, where did that come from? And I just think that I've always got those little spirit healers there with me, so I don't ever feel alone in that space.
That's
and
beautiful.
It is a space that I trust.
Yeah.
No matter really what's happening around. Sometimes that trust wavers if there's moments of in society and whatnot that are scary for me.
Yeah.
But basically, if I go back to centre, I can feel those guides.
That's really beautiful and good for the listeners to hear that, you know, especially women. I mean, we're men and women. We're all about that. We are called Girl Awakening, so we know we have a lot of female listeners. But it's such a strong natural ability for women that we don't connect in with enough, or we don't trust it enough, and it's innately in us.
Yeah.
And I think to be in an environment too as a child where you're growing up in nature, if you want to put it that way, like rural areas, that's a gift as well, isn't it? Because you're in tune with what's around you, and it's a very grounded energy, but it's also very elemental, you know, like
It is.
It helps you just to develop or stay that person that you are for a longer time, isn't it?
I think that's what it is.
And that's been very continued through your life, to be in tune with that part of you that channels or intuitively communicates with your environment, and that's people as well.
I think so.
Yeah. And a lover of animals. And
birds. I do love my animals.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, when did you leave? Like rural, like you've been on the Gold Coast for many years.
So I came to the Gold Coast on my last year of school. So I went to Merrimack High School. Year 12.
So you said around 16 was when you started to realise that not everyone's the same as you. So did that kind of coincide with that time of moving home as well, or?
Yeah, maybe around there. But I left home very early too, really, I suppose. So I finished school and then left the next week, and so and then I started work the next day, and then started naturopath school the next year, like early the next year. So.
Was that a calling, like to naturopathy?
Not really, I don't think. So I had wanted to be a captain of ship, and the women wouldn't let the Navy wouldn't let women be.
Oh, you literally wanted
serious?
to be the captain. I thought you were being metaphorical about being.
No, I just have always loved the ocean.
Wow.
And that's what I wasn't doing. I just wanted, if I couldn't be at the top, well. I wasn't going.
You were going to be a sailor. You wouldn't be the captain.
And then I wanted to be a dog handler in the police. Yeah. And they wouldn't let women be dog handlers in those days. So.
Wow. How interesting is that?
That is interesting. So then I went to a little guidance thing, and there was a pamphlet that said naturopath, and I thought, that's actually just me. Oh, I'll just do that. So I did.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a calling particularly. Maybe it was, I'm not sure. In my mid-20s, in my mid-20s, I didn't know what it was. So I had until I read that pamphlet, we'd never seen a naturopath. I didn't know what that was. So it was just a calling of sorts, I suppose. I just thought, oh yes, that's me, that's it.
And your default button, isn't it? Like that trusting, that reading that, resonating with it, following through on it.
Yeah, and in my mid-20s, I thought, oh, maybe I wasn't supposed to do this. Maybe I was supposed to do something else. But I had a little thinking, and I thought, oh no, this is it.
Yeah.
So I graduated when I was 20. That was a problem because I couldn't get registration everywhere. So the Queensland Naturopathic Association registered me, and I gratefully now am still registered with them, and I like to give back now, because when I was a young naturopath, there was it was a very male-dominated profession on the Gold Coast, and they were a bit cruel, to be honest. Anyway, I outlived all of them.
Male naturopath. I don't think I've met a male naturopath. Isn't that funny?
It's not really a particularly in those days, 30 years ago, it wasn't particularly financially a viable option, I think.
Right.
And so they all left very quickly.
Okay. So,
which says a lot about kind of motivation for doing what you do, isn't it? I mean, we all need to be financially secure and abundant, but to kind of not continue to develop, I guess, and then think, okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah, maybe they had other responsibilities and things that I
True.
didn't have. But it's always been a great profession to me. I worked hard and worked hard continuously, and it was fine for me.
it's lovely because it's almost like a doctor. You're a doctor, but it's a holistic doctor. That's what I would think of it as. It's like you've got more free reign to step outside that box of...
It's different to the mainstream medicine, but you're still guiding people and educating them and offering solutions for their health issues. It is... it's a great privilege, and it's been an absolute honour to have that profession. I'm very, very grateful every day.
Because exactly what you just said, like from a healthcare point of view, Tanya's been our family doctor, basically. And I know you've been that for a lot of other families and people too, generations of people, literally generations. But probably not quite the freedom to practice as a doctor. You know, you've been quite unique in your sphere of practice, and that you've embraced, when we introduced you and spoke about the broad spectrum of areas that you support people in. It's not easy to navigate all those areas in health, and working within medical arenas and having a clear understanding of drugs and pathology and all those different
aspects of medicine.
Yes, which, you know, it's a big field in itself, but you embrace all of that and are very knowledgeable in the area, but you're also very respectful of that and caring for your clients with all of that area of their lives as they're navigating their health issues and health conditions.
Yeah. So I see it as a complementary medicine, and I don't for 1 minute think that I have had the education or expertise to call myself a mainstream doctor, but I actually wouldn't want to either.
I was going to say you wouldn't want to anyway.
Yeah.
I think the part that I love is that you've got all these amazing ideas that are outside of that.
But it like doing what I've done for as long as I have a lot of knowledge of general medicine now.
Yes.
And some very strong relationships with different medical practitioners as well.
Absolutely, It's I feel at this point in my career, after 30 years, respected and appreciated in general by not just my clientels, but the broader medical community on the coast.
Yeah. I want to go back. I want to go back to the 8-year-old Tanya. And I want to scratch a little bit into there. Like, where did you go with that? What, that beautiful
free spirit.
Yeah, free spirit that's got this magic inside of her that's aware of it. What happened to that? Like, did you take that with you? Did you keep it with you? Did you keep using it?
I did. Yeah. So it was never knocked out of me or ridiculed or anything. It's I think that I have had a very blessed life as far as maybe those gifts and the ability to hold space for people. I've just always been looked after. Being a naturopath is different. Like, it's there's not a whole medical association backing you. Like, it's a really lonely profession in lots of ways. It's there's lots of people who don't know what a naturopath is, and there's lots of people that alternate medicine and naturopaths just grind the absolute wrong way. So people are really passionate about it. Like, they either love it, don't know about it, or hate it. And the people that hate it, like, hate it with a bitter passion as well. So
Wow.
I haven't come across that very much in my career.
Yeah.
Which is good, really.
Yeah. No, I would think that those types of people would be quite unconscious.
Yeah, maybe.
Only because that's something different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I often have pondered why maybe people just have such anger and bitterness towards it. But then I look through the history of women from a worldly perspective, and women have been burnt.
I was going to say, does it go back to the
for
witches?
a long time?
Well, this comes up a lot.
And so like those people, the persecutors then are no different to the persecutors now to me.
Absolutely. So they were the ones that didn't want the magic, that was sitting inside all of us. That they knew that if we stepped in there, that we were going to start to know and remember who we really are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That that's why I think the people that, it's even hard to believe there's people out there that would hate it. There's been no reason to, but I get it. It's
it's bigger than us and
much
deeper
bigger
and older than
yeah.
yeah. But my little 8-year-old just held her fire, and
yes,
and at 51 I still hold my fire.
Yeah. So when you went to school, did you take that with you? Like, were you still using that all through school, or was there a time where you put it aside? And was there other things evolving?
Probably there were just other things evolving, but it never left. It never left me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something. I'm a really private person.
Yeah.
So I don't really share who I am or my gifts unless it is a really safe space, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I didn't. Not that I ever really felt unsafe, but if someone asked, I would have said. But if no one asked, I wouldn't have said.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a sense of this little girl in the bush, again, like apart from being in nature, but also that safety that's there outside of, the busyness of more populated areas where it's smaller community, but a close-knit community. And as I say, people dropping by to help around the house or things. It's almost like extended family in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe we moved a lot though,
Okay.
so I don't think I ever got that sense of community growing up, because by the time I was 21, I'd lived in 22 different houses.
Wow.
So
I thought
didn't.
I'd moved a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I didn't really have that. It was, and maybe that's why I didn't share it too. Just
because you were worried that you were going to be moved.
Not worried,
or
just
didn't get
just
to know
didn't get
people
to.
well enough.
Yeah.
I think the space was just never created. Yeah. But it but now I've lived in this house for 18 years.
Yeah. Oh,
My
wow, that's lovely.
house now.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Yeah.
That feels fantastic for me.
That's good. That's a bit of grounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
bringing your children through and that.
Yeah,
Beautiful space.
I wanted that for them to just have a family home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. I think the next question is perfect from what we we're just talking about just now. And I have a feeling anyway, I'm going to ask. So when did you first notice a shift in your thoughts about the world? So about the construct or the matrix or the conditioning. Were you aware of those things going on at a young age? Did you start to become more aware of them?
So I think, being that very introverted private person, I have just minded my own business.
Yeah.
So so the people in my tribe are very like-minded people.
Yeah.
Or free thought people.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, my working as a naturopath sometimes provided me with opportunity to realise that resistance to me and to natural healing, and that has saddened me, angered me, frightened me, but not enough to let go of my light.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things you noticed? What were some of the conditionings or that you noticed around you?
I think sometimes I'm not sure if it's because I'm a fairly powerful woman and independent, or whether it's because I work as a naturopath. I'm not really sure sometimes what comes first, or if I was a male naturopath, whether it would be different. I do see male naturopaths. There's some beautiful ones in my profession, and they sort of have different roles in my profession, and so I'm not sure sometimes if they just get their hands dirty like I have. So but the resistance, just that probably acknowledgement. For example, maybe I see somebody who's under a specialist. For one example, I'm thinking is a lady came to me and she'd had a history of eating disorders, and so she was in her 40s and her kidney function was failing, and it had been for a long time, and that's an unfortunate long-term side effect of eating disorders as a young person. And I'm aware of the kidney specialist she was seeing, and in my view, I just wouldn't see him if he was the last doctor on the earth. And she didn't have any finances, and I was very aware that she had 6 weeks, otherwise she was going to start dialysis, so it was a very tender time. And so I just did some dietary changes and some homeopathics, so they are really gentle medicine, and her kidney function turned around to the best that had been in 5 years, and she didn't have to have dialysis. So the doctor wrote a letter. He had to write a letter to her GP, and it was, she's been seeing this naturopath and it seems to have worked, and I don't know what she did. It was just a rude letter. And you think, well, why not ask? Why not ask?
So interesting.
And so that's probably the question that I ask myself about what I do is, why don't people just ask? Like I have a client at the minute, and she was diagnosed with a terminal cancer 18 months ago, and 12 months ago, and stage 4 lung cancer, and now there's no evidence of disease, so it's called NED, and and her specialist knows she hasn't done he couldn't offer her. She's had one chemotherapy tablet the whole time that she takes every day, and he knows she's done other things, and he just hasn't asked her. Like, he just has not said, what did you do? Let me learn about that. And I can think of actually 5 people in that situation that I know with having that terminal cancer diagnosis, supposed to die within 6 months, and 18 months later or whatever are alive, and their doctors have not said, tell me about that. And you just think that just gives me the shits.
That's sad.
That's the common thing. That's what I've noticed.
It's sad. It's sad that they're not open to, and if they're in that profession, where's the level of care for another human being?
Yeah, but what? It's a simple question to ask.
Absolutely.
What have you been taking?
It's quite a factual question, isn't it? There's no emotion about it, and it shows a limitation around the process of growth and evolution in healing in a medical space, to not even ask that question, as you say, which could just change so many people's lives. And I think be more fulfilling for the doctors as well.
Yeah, maybe. But it is also, I think, the biggest awakening for me in my profession, as far as that the awareness of different parts of society was definitely with COVID.
I mean, that was going to be my next question. I was going to say, how did you go the last couple of years? Because I know, just on a planetary level, that has woken up so many people to the medical profession. If they were on the fence, they've definitely climbed over it now. Or if they were totally asleep, maybe there's a few that have woken up and gone, what's really going on?
I saw a beautiful man yesterday, and he lives in London, and he came in, and he's a trader, and he's been a sole parent to his son, for the last 20 odd years, and his son's now an adult, and he's moved to London, and has this lovely life there. And he said, and he was telling me about the effects of his realization or his feeling that he really didn't have the freedom that he thought he had when COVID came and the mandates came, and just to feel his pain and to feel his heartache and his lostness since that. And you know, he's 49 and on all accounts I'm sure it was the first time he'd visited a naturopath.
Wow.
But you know, he it really it's been sitting with me since that was for a lot of people, including myself. Like, if it wasn't for Mandy, I just wouldn't have survived COVID, I don't think. Intact.
We
I
had a
don't
few
think my little spirit would have, I think I would have dropped my fire if it wasn't for my couple of really close girlfriends that because the days were long for me when it came, like that they were finishing it. You know, I've always kept a really strong work-life balance, but worked really hard and
so many people
being on call, but had that, you know, incredible capacity to hold the space and do the long hours. Very happy to do that. You know, I did see my work as a calling and a life purpose, and you know, was happy to have that as a big priority.
More than ever in the last 2 years? Do you think?
Well, no, I've always had that dedication and
but what I mean, were you being called on more than ever? Yeah.
And so the days were really long, and I worked really hard, and I just did not see that coming. The challenge to our personal freedom of choice around our bodies.
And that was the biggest thing of all. I think that it came down to most people were pissed off that we didn't have a choice. And that was the bottom line.
So I think freedom, you know, has for me in my life been an absolute big priority, and I realise how honoured and grateful I am that I was able to home birth my babies, that I had choices about their health care, that I had choices about my health care, and you know, a lot more choice than a lot of people. And you know, I feel very privileged, but I'm very, very aware of my privilege in that. And but I just didn't see COVID coming.
No.
And so I really needed my family and friends' support to be able to hold the space for lots of other people.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank
you for that.
For being there for so many, because the level of distress is overwhelming, isn't it? Like,
it was,
because this is a reflection on how you practice, and it's, you know, truly the true sense of the word holistic, because it's you know, the science and the professional space, but also the emotional and the metaphysical space that you work within. And so then in this period of crisis, you know, the COVID space, the crimes against humanity, I believe it to be caring for people as you do, and to have that basically triple or more, I don't know, God, it was huge, wasn't it?
It was really huge.
It's a big thing to do.
It was a big thing to do, but the disturbing thing for me was that, you know, usually people who are intuitive and critical thinkers, so that to me is a very holistic way of thinking. If you have that, you know, innate intuition, but also that ability to critically think, so that you know, usually one side or the other serves a person well, and for people to lose the ability to investigate and educate and decide for their bodies what was best was really hard.
Absolutely. Wow, that's powerful.
And then there was the disease itself. That on top of it. That was that's that's a crazy disease. My goodness.
Yeah.
It just does not feel like. I mean, I have treated the flu and serious illness
Most
for a
of your
long
career.
time, and it is just so unusual.
And I'm going to put a
I so
big
wanna
question
ask a
mark on
question,
that.
but I'm too scared to ask. Do you think it was man-made?
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Oh.
And not because of what I've read or what I saw or anything, but because of how it felt and what I saw it do to people.
Wow.
It just isn't like anything else.
I agree. My husband and I both got it, and it felt extremely like technological. It like literally did things to us. It was bizarre things. Like I've never felt a sickness like that. But yeah,
The neurological aspect of its presence is weird.
Extremely weird. Yeah.
And how
Wow.
people experience it, even how they, as you say, catch it, there seems to be an emotional component to that as well. Like, sitting next to someone for half an hour and then finding out they had it, and then automatically getting it.
Are you talking about the jab, or are you talking about
the COVID,
Okay.
the disease
The disease,
itself, and other people perhaps having a different mindset about it and sitting next to someone for half an hour and finding out they had it and not getting it. And you can say immune systems and things like that, but I feel like when people talk about it, there's an emotional component there of, oh, I must have it, or something. I don't know, but it seems to be more so than different, like the flu or a cold. I don't know.
I think that I don't know if that's perhaps because of the distraction of just the name.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, it just it held an energy all in its own.
Yeah,
didn't
it did.
We
Or
don't,
does still.
Yeah. Don't really want to go down that path with you. This is all about you today, love.
Yes, but amazing to actually hear
It
how
is,
something
it
like
is.
that impacts on, a very healthy, strong, resilient woman.
It did.
And
so
the care factor, how it can take you.
Well, that disease part that you were talking about that felt manufactured, I'm thinking that you probably felt how that could have taken you out too. That side of
no,
it.
that was never going to take
But
me
yeah.
out.
You were talking
But it's,
on all levels.
I think the thing is that what I learnt from it was that whether our world has war or Mother Earth herself is being destroyed piece by piece, I think what it gave for me is the importance of minding my own business and my own space, and being as self-sufficient in that emotionally, physically, and mentally and spiritually as possible.
Beautiful.
Yeah, one of the
Wow.
powerful sentences that a friend has implanted is stay in your own lane.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, that's what it did.
Yeah.
It made me go, okay, make your lane beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's spot on.
Yeah.
It's perfect, and I think that same impact had on a lot of people. Just stay in your own lane, look after yourself, look after your family, keep your tribe in close, and just
through love and
stay
not through
outside
fear.
of everything as much as you can. Keep your thoughts high.
Yeah.
So how does Tanya, like, because you are a busy person in your career and also as a mother and a friend, how do you nourish yourself? How do you support Tanya?
So for a long time now, I have just really, like, I have a little sign on my desk, and it just says, "Live simply," and that, and I just find living simply works for me. Yeah. So I don't really want for very much. I'm incredibly grateful for what I do have, but I really like simple things, and so I just love a good meal. I love the sun on my face. I love that feel of the ocean. I love connecting with my tribe, and but I find nature and everything it provides, even my herbs and whatnot, the way that I nurture myself, and to keep my thoughts simple as well. Like, so if I feel that I'm just I just watch. I'm aware of my thoughts. There's a mindfulness about how I'm thinking and feeling, and I just still listen to that intuition. If I need to slow down, I do. Sometimes that but I trust. If I sort of, over my 30 years, sometimes if I've woken up and I've thought, oh, I just really can't do today, as big as it's planned. Like there might be a lot of people. Well, something will just happen and someone will cancel or something. I just have absolutely 100% trust that if I set my day with intention, it will turn out, and I will cope with everything that comes on board. Yeah, and that's worked. Yeah, so I think
it's pretty special.
I love that. Just even listening to it, I'm nearly asleep. It's
like you're soaking into it.
It's so beautiful because I have this conversation with my hubby a lot too. I just want to simplify everything.
Yeah.
And that came up in the last couple of years too.
Yeah, so simplifying things for me is good.
Beautiful. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. And even the simplifying of the thoughts, very powerful.
I think so. And I think the other thing is I think menopause was a big awakening for me personally as well, and more so in that time I have had the need to be kinder to my body and mind and soul, because it changed a lot.
This is a great topic, This is a really good topic because it's really big.
Space.
And, when we're in this topic of awareness and consciousness and all of that, menopause is still going to happen, Does it happen for every woman?
No, it didn't happen for you, Mandy. No. Mandy just breezed.
I was going to say, do you think it is a lot around the mind too? And we're talking about conditions on the planet and all of this construct and everything. Do you think there's a whole world built up around that as well that's made us create this chaos around, turning 50 or whatever it is?
I think maybe on the Gold Coast possibly more than other places. Yeah, because I think how you look matters a bit more on the Gold Coast compared to other places in the world. Yeah, from my experience. But it look, I think you could talk for hours and hours on why some people have a difficult menopause and others don't seem to even have one.
Yeah.
Like most phases in life, it's like giving birth really too. So I think you've just got to work with what you've got, explore a little bit why it is the way it is, and then work with what you have. But for me personally, it came at a time where one of my babies left home and I went into menopause, and it so there was also a bit more space created, I think, for me to I'd been very blessed with my health, and I still am. My menopause wasn't really difficult.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of change.
Yeah.
And so I needed a little bit more space to really journey in that time and nourish my body in that time.
Yeah.
And that happened. So it was good.
You had the space to do that.
I did.
Yeah, that's really lovely.
And because just throwing a little bit of light on the body changes, like knowing you, like you've always been a very had an amazing relationship with being physical. Like you're very active, you've always been sports, exercise, activity, but for the pleasure it gives you physically and how it makes you feel in yourself and the energy levels and that life balance aspect as well. So when your body starts to do things that kind of take out your freedom to be able to do some of those things, or to perhaps adjust what your physical expression is, that's quite a big moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I think part of it is I'd had this little theory that if I exercised enough, it would help my menopause. It just didn't. Because in theory, exercise decreases FSH, and so it should help. But it actually just didn't help me at all.
Your body was like, no, I want to go this way.
There's so many things you hear and you just don't know what's the truth and what, you know.
It is, I've actually, but I think what it gave for me is that realisation that I'd had body privilege in my life. Yeah, so as a perfect size 10 white woman, I had body privilege. Yeah. I had a beautifully nourished food-wise, the privilege to exercise as I had really wanted my adult life. And the going through menopause and that changing made me very aware of the privilege that I had and the the realisation that lots of women all over the world have just not had that perfect size 10 white woman body, and that I was a little bit I was ashamed that I hadn't thought of that earlier, and embarrassed. I'm very aware of my white privilege, but I hadn't even considered contemplating and reflecting on my body privilege.
That's powerful.
That's so
isn't it? Because,
powerful.
yeah.
I'm hearing you because I resonate with that big time. And now
another also hot woman.
Yes, it's like I totally resonate with you. I never ever considered it. It was just my body. I never thought about any other way. And then now I'm getting things that my body's changing shape, and it's like, I don't know whether I really like this. And exercise isn't doing anything. It's like I got to find new ways.
But it's really good to explore that thought that you've been privileged for all that time.
Yeah,
but other people aren't.
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
And I think can I bring into here because one of the things that I find in my experience in myself, but also with clients and people generally, is a healthy sexual relationship is a big thing in how your body copes with change, isn't it? And I don't mean within yourself, how you are intimate with yourself and loving yourself and allowing healthy sexual relationships to be a part of nourishing and nurturing yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I just love talking about sex. I could talk about sex all day.
Let's talk about sex. It's perfect. Wow.
There's lots of really good.
What a surprise! You surprised me. Let's go down that path. Girl awakening sexually.
So my girl awakening sexually is that when I grew up thinking that everybody just had the freedom of thought and desire to love who they pleased.
Yes.
I did not realise that I did not realise heterosexual people existed.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just thought everyone was bisexual and they knew that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we just missed that small part out of the front. Did you see that was your mother like that, or did you actually just think that because you were so open? That's so beautiful, because that might, who knows, that could be the truth.
My mother is very open to people loving who they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there was never any restrictions on our sexual orientation or anything. But I just thought that if I loved a woman, then I loved a woman.
Yes.
If I loved a man, I didn't realise that that's not how everybody thinks.
Right. But you were thinking in a sexual way too, like that you felt attracted to both men and women. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I didn't realise until I had teenagers that actually, I was really old.
Yes.
I didn't realise that that's just how everybody thought.
Yes.
That people actually had heterosexual, like they were heterosexual. I just that thought to me was very foreign.
And it's loving people in their entirety.
Yeah.
That's where you're coming from, isn't it? Like it's that seeing the person, resonating with that person, loving them for the being that they are.
Absolutely.
I was going to say that's the beingness, isn't it? That's the soul aspect right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and but I love having sex and making love, all those aspects in between, very much a way that I like to nourish in my body, definitely. Yeah, and having those connections with people.
Yes, beautiful.
It's a very healthy thing.
It
is. Yeah, I have found that in my relationship, it enhances them, and I notice that people who have an active sex life, whether they're with a partner or without a long-term partner, are happier people. That is my gross generalisation.
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah, I believe that totally. I think it's very convoluted in the world at the moment around that. It's very mixed. Like what you're saying is very simple and very clear, but it's very murky waters at the moment, what's happening out there. We don't even need to go there, but so there's a lot of confusion and distraction with children and the way they view that entirety.
But I just see that as a progression of as society as a whole is forced to become more aware that there is going to be a turbulent, challenging time where the pendulums will swing from good to bad, because children did need to have more freedom, I think, and to be themselves and love who they want. So for our children to live in a society that's safe with that, there is going to be a lot of turbulence. It's no different than feminist thinking, like the same thing. Well, we're all still a bit confused about, female and male roles, and where but feminism had to happen in my view. So I think whenever there's an evolution, there's going to be an unfortunate collateral damage. But there'll be collateral damage, to lots of people, and I think as a woman and as a working as a naturopath, it's just really important that women stand up for their rights in their body.
That's
and that's that autonomy and sovereignty again, isn't it?
And discernment. That's really about discernment too, and I think discernment to me means intuition, really connecting into what am I being told here, that's my truth, not the next person's
intuition
truth.
And that critical thinking. So for so did menopause change my sex?
Oh, dizzy.
I found that it made me have to take more care, more time, and create more space to find the new me in that, I think. So but do I still have sex? Yes.
Because there's so many stories you hear, and you're like I heard a story about, your fanny dries up, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Is it true?
It is true.
Does that happen to everyone?
No, it doesn't happen. But my fanny dried up a bit, and so I had to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it
and there are things you can do about
absolutely
it.
that aren't hormonal, and that you can heal a dry vajayjay.
Yes.
And so it and it works. So so I just couldn't believe that. I thought, for
fuck's sake.
You give
Literally.
birth, you breastfeed your babies. My little pussy got torn apart.
Yes.
You'd think you'd at least be able to have sex for as long as you wanted.
Give us a break.
Without it hurting.
Yes.
And so that was devastating for me when sex started to hurt. Absolutely devastating. And but thankfully I was resourceful enough to be able to heal that. And oh my gosh, so determined for that not to
lose that
for
absolutely.
me myself.
I think it's so beautiful that we can talk so openly about it, and for other women to hear that and go, there's nothing wrong with you, love. It's just you're going through a bit of a change.
Things you can do, and
there's things you can do.
It's allowing. It's because when you talk about creating more space around, embracing how my body wants to relate to sex now, what is my next sexual experiences about, that space is inclusive of things like nutrition and nourishment and herbs and input in that area, but it's also about perhaps yoga or meditation, or because that connection between critical thinking and intuition is a very powerful part of how you communicate to your body, and those physical parts of your body are activated, isn't it? Because
absolutely,
you have to have those two things very much in play. In that part, when that part of your life starts to happen. If it hasn't already been a part of your life, it becomes even more so.
I think so. And I do think that menopause is this wonderful opportunity for women to explore their sexuality, because it's like everything gets stripped away for some people. Maybe the way they looked, maybe the way they felt, and so it's sort of yourself and your rawness. So that connection, then it's very real. It's very authentic, and it's very deep, and it's very sensual and spiritual and emotional, rather than just having sex with that body privileged space. So and it's having confidence in yourself as a woman, and believing in yourself to be bothered and to be brave, to connect with somebody in the vulnerability of menopause.
A whole new level of relationship with
it
self.
It's a really beautiful thing, I think.
It's so interesting, because we're here talking about the awakening process, and I'm just listening to you and thinking about the stages. So we get our period when we're 12, 13, 14, and we're still quite young and naive and all of those things. Some of us are a lot more awake than others, and then we go through that middle part of our life where we're just kind of free and easy and we have everything. And then we come into this menopause stage where we're now sitting in a space as women, probably more in a self-assured space and all that. Then menopause hits us and strips away some of the things that have built us to be there. But we're now in a place where we're able to handle it more.
Yeah, sure.
It's such an interesting phase, and I know what I'm saying is probably women have probably worked this out.
No, but because for some women it's that way, and for other women, what Tanya's saying, it's not that way at all. It's very compromised. Very conflicting.
But we are in a more mature phase then to be able to handle what's coming.
But in Australia, women over 50 make up the biggest homeless population. Yeah,
wow.
So there are a whole group of women in Australia who don't have a home.
Wow.
Yeah? And so they've been stripped away of everything. They're going through their menopause. They don't, they're missed out financially because they had babies often, and then chose to leave relationships that didn't honour them, to be financially compromised because of that. So they don't have the same career opportunities because they're mums, and then so they just don't have that financial security, and so it's actually frightful how many homeless women are over 50 there are. And we can sit here today, all three of us having a home, and exploring that spirituality of menopause and what it means, but there are women who don't have a home.
That's really sad,
and it's horrendous. But and it's part of the evolution of women, maybe gaining that independence from relationships that aren't safe. But it's the collateral damage of that. So very important as privileged women that we think about that, I think. And that we really be beautiful role models for younger women, so that they can hopefully not be in that homeless space.
Absolutely.
Or that compromised space. So sometimes they're not literally on the streets. They'll be living in someone's garage or on someone's lounge. But that's not a home. And imagine, exploring all these aspects of menopause in that space. Like, man, that to me is tough. So I think that a very, very important thing as women and me personally that I've found is that education is really important. I know it's not important for all people, men and women, to be successful in their life, but I think for lots of people who maybe haven't got that creative ability to be independent, financially, physically, or mentally, or emotionally, that education is a way of building that independence. And
You've been a lifelong learner.
I have been a lifelong learner, and I grew up in a very low socioeconomic area, and I went to a low socioeconomic area state school. And, a few years ago, I went back to university, something I've been wanting to do for 30 years. And when my baby started university, she said, "Oh, why don't you do that?" And I said, "Oh, yes, that's what I'm going to do. It's time for me too." Yeah. So I had that more space created an opportunity to go back to university. And so it had been something I had desired for a long time to actually get another bit of paper, not for the getting of paper part, but for all the bits that come before that bit of paper. So just to go back to university is just something I had wanted to do. A few years ago, the government, we just got a letter in the mail one day saying everything you've done for the last 30 years professionally is meaningless, and that we're no longer going to recognise naturopathy in private health cover. And
that was a big fuck up.
It was huge for me. Wow. It was huge for me on lots of levels. It was the biggest kick in the guts that I've had professionally. It didn't actually change my bottom line or how many people I saw, but it was just someone's uneducated having the right to say that. It was disrespectful, but it was. For me, a little bit like the COVID thing, just the awareness of institutionalization, and there was no warning, no warning at all. So there wasn't, you've got 2 years to re-educate yourself in case our pending decisions affects your income, and
or your career path,
or your career path
that you have,
everything.
People that are involved.
So it was a driving force for me to get an actual bit of paper, another bit of paper, a bit of paper that wasn't in allied health, a bit of paper that wasn't a witch doctor's bit of paper. So I did explore what I would like to do in that space, and the obvious thing was I spoke to some people who spend a lot of time in universities, and they encouraged me to do medicine, but I just thought my heart would break in a million pieces if I did that.
Institutionalization.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. So
freedom.
So psychology for me was an expansion of what I do every day, and something a place where I felt safe enough to be myself and to keep my fire alight, but also not have someone be able to do that to me again, to catch me unawares again professionally. So I've done 3.5 years and completed an undergrad, but I intend, and I had to get good enough grade to go into an honours year and then a master's, and so that's where I'm at with that space.
How exciting.
However, I really do think for women who just don't have that creative ability, education is a really good way to empower themselves and their families. It makes me sad when I see women who would like to further their education and they're told they can't, it's too expensive. I think education is a bit like having babies. No other human being has a right to deny you of that.
Well, I know my auntie, one of my close friends, her mother did a degree on female mutilation in Australia when she was 70, and to celebrate graduating jumped out of a plane.
That's so epic.
Thinking of you. And my auntie, also in her 80s, extremely intelligent woman, would have loved to have gone to university, but was busy with a young family and no ability to do that. It wasn't a society accepted thing, or financial capacity, all those sort of things.
And so I have not seen my age as that has not held me back in any area. It's been a blessing for my university studies, and yes, of course it sometimes takes me longer to submit the assignment than it does to write it. No, not quite, but
you're talking about technical difficulties.
However, there are ways around that, and I think if one thing I'm very aware of is my strength and determination and my ability to inspire and to invigorate other women and people, and I think we all do, and that's a really beautiful thing, I think, to have that ability, as a woman, to have that ability to just give someone else a little bit of encouragement and strength and determination.
Yeah, that's super inspiring. That's, you getting that letter. A lot of women would have just went, oh, okay, well, I'm doomed or whatever, and not thought about the next phase or what I need to do. Where do I need to step up next? A lot of them would have just...
It's kind of like when you said earlier on in your career, when it was mostly male-dominated, and then you've outlived them. And there's reasons, as we said, like, financially it wasn't a hugely rewarding back in the day. And looking after their families and things like that seemed part of the man's role, if you want, to need to position themselves in their careers, whatever that meant. And as a mother in a full-time career, you're kind of multitasking all those areas. So it's,
absolutely. So I had my
young children.
Yeah, I had my first child. I wasn't married and I didn't have a partner, so I chose to have my baby myself and be financially and physically responsible for her. And so that has been her whole life. And
she's an incredible...
I've done that very well.
Yay!
So I understood that I had the same responsibilities around family that maybe my male counterparts had, and yes, it's different, but not impossible for women to
resourceful
to have it all,
and passion for what you've and you've said you
and support by people, support from my tribe,
the village.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah,
or
I think
the tribe.
So. Yeah, tribe. I think.
Well, because when I say village, it's like, the carers for your children while you're working, but the tribe is an extension of that, isn't it? The mental and emotional support.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is intrinsic to balance. Yeah,
all part of it.
Part of it.
I know you mentioned you didn't have a lot of time, so there's a few questions I think we've already answered, which was, what do you do now to support yourself with staying in the moment? Is that one that we haven't answered? I don't know whether that's something that we have answered or we have. The other one was, how do you see the world and what do you see next for us?
Is it in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for our young people coming through to be adults, I think there's just a huge responsibility on them from just literally a earth point of view. So I think our role as the elders in our community, it's really important to just give them a break. Support them, let them I feel they've been lumped pre-COVID with enormous economic, environmental, social responsibilities, and I think we need to hold their space, hold them high, support them where we can, nurture them where we can, love them where we at every moment, just love them, and hopefully it'll all be okay.
I think that kids these days have so much negative thought going on, and they're so hard on themselves already that we don't need to point anything out to them. We do not need to. We just need to love them. So you're so spot on there.
Yeah. The world is pretty cruel.
Yeah.
And I think they don't need us to be judgmental or at all.
Yeah. No, I agree with that one totally. And what does Tanya do now to support herself?
Yeah, so well, on Saturday mornings I like going in the ocean with my friend Mandy.
You guys will be bored, don't you?
Well, we're getting there. I reckon we'll be surfing by the time we're 60.
That's so beautiful. The sups are pretty good as well. We're a bit suppers.
Yes. So look, I really just ensuring time for connection with nature is really important for me. Yeah. Having a bit of sex, eating some good food, hanging out with my peeps.
Yes. Keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
really
That is it. Just keeping it simple. Stay in my lane and keep it simple.
Yeah. That's really, really
That's
lovely.
where the power and the magic is, isn't it? Because, you can continue to be inspired, I feel, in that way, which, in the healing modalities, it's being able to renew yourself, isn't it? To keep on doing what you do where you feel so fulfilled.
Yeah.
Well, there's space there for you to do that because you've kept everything so simplified.
Yeah, it is. I just love my work every day.
Yeah.
I really love it. It's a beautiful mix of, it's interesting, it's diverse, it's inclusive, it's rich with history, and I just love it. I love mixing up my herbs and smelling their essence and being grateful.
That's so beautiful. We'll definitely be putting all of your info at the bottom of the podcast. So anyone that's interested in catching up with Tanya, she's amazing. So many areas. Even if you have a dry JJ, she can help with that.
Sure can.
We've talked about plant medicine in lots of different ways, but I feel that it's becoming very topical to be certain aspects of plant medicine. But you've spoken to me over the years about different herbs and things that I've been attracted to or using, or you've given me, and the story that you share about these plants, like comfrey, for example, is one of my big loves, and your relationship with plants is back to those days of the medicine woman and the shaman and the village healer, but yet in very modern terms today, and adding your psychology qualifications on top of it. It's a very free space to be in helping people with the way that you're choosing to work.
Yeah.
You've really, I'm bringing this up because it's a very conscious creation what you've chosen to do in the way that you work with people by staying
very,
in your lane,
very conscious,
and the way that you've chosen to honour people and what their journeys are about. And I feel it just deserves a bit of an accolade.
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
you. To our Girl Awakening podcast. We will see you next week with a new guest, and we look forward to sharing with you an awakening. There's a link in our show notes for info regarding our guest, and a special blissful thank you to Ksenia Luki, the amazing artist behind our theme song. We will see you next week. Bye.
I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams. She teaches me lessons, and boy does she sing. Her voice sways like a hummingbird.